everyone. This is Virginia with Butterfly Journey Human Services, and you're on the Beyond 50 Wellness channel. And here at Beyond 50 Wellness, we talk about finances, nutrition, and fitness. And we want everyone to have a healthy wellness of body, mind, soul, spirit, and finances. And sorry we're starting late, but I had a very interesting many wearing hats day. I was wearing many hats today, so I'm sorry if I start a little bit late. I hope that the next segment will be on time. Yahweh Elohim the Most High is in control. And today we are talking about how to budget and save. And this is the book that we are using for this particular class. And you can find this book on Amazon as well as Barnes and Noble. Today we're in chapter 1. We're going to briefly go over the introduction and then get into chapter 1, which is titled Budgeting and Saving. So in the introduction, just briefly reading some things that I highlighted when I was reading. This book is about giving you the building blocks of a complete personal finance education so you can take charge of your money and your financial future. That's the main gist of this entire book. Also, it brings out there's going to be detailed explanations of the most important personal finance concepts. Also, get a better handle on student loan debt, craft a budget. You can really live wealth or start building your personal wealth. So this handy guide can help you get there. With this book's comprehensive yet concise charts, lists, and graphs, you will learn everything you need to know, from how to choose the best credit card for you to the ins and outs of successfully selling your house. Also, it's going to talk about banking basics, retirement planning, and establishing credit. Also, we will learn together the easiest way to dig out of debt, what to do if you're victim identity theft, on how to successfully research and invest in stocks. Also, it talks about how to use your income tax for refund for benefit and spending less on grocery bills and deciding whether it makes more sense to rent or buy a home, and also choosing the right financial advisor. Speaking of financial advisor, I am not a certified financial advisor. I am just a regular, average, everyday, down to earth human being, just like you, trying to learn and how to pay down debt, how to get out of debt. It's best that we try our best to spend wisely, save wisely, invest wisely. So on the outset, I want to say I am not a financial advisor. I'm just an independent financial counselor, just giving free information from books that I found on how to save, how to budget, how to invest wisely and intelligently. So we will talk about finding a certified financial advisor toward the end of this class. It's going to be 5 chapters that we're going to cover, 1 chapter each week on Thursday, Yahweh willing, the Lord willing. And we will do this from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. every Thursday. I will put the schedule in the description box. We will go into another financial budgeting book after we finish this one. And it's going to be an ongoing series, of course, with holidays coming up like 4th of July, and also holidays in September, October, November, December. We will skirt over those holidays, dates that may coincide with us learning about budgeting. So let's just get into chapter 1 of this book, and I'll show it again. and it's called Budgeting and Saving. Now, this book talks about creating a livable budget. It may seem confusing at first. I know when I was a young person and trying to learn how to uh, manage my money, I wasn't very good at it because, unfortunately, and it says in this book too, that financial management is not taught in schools, at least not when I was attending school. Financial management courses are not taught in elementary, middle school, or high school. And even in college and universities, you have to probably take a specific course in financial management. So, the best getting started guideline based on this book is the 50-30-20 rule. That standard helps define your big spending buckets, but allows flexibility inside the bucket based on your unique situation. That's important. Everyone's budget is going to be different based on their situation, their salary, their expenses, and the liabilities and assets and things of that nature. So it says 50% of your budget needs to go for housing, food, car, medical, work related expenses, and minimum debt payments. 30% should be for wants. You want clothing, entertainment, vacation, restaurants. And then 20% of your budget should go towards savings and investments, such as emergency fund, retirement plan, and extra debt payments. So 50% is for needs, 30% for wants, and 20% for saving and investment. So it goes on to say a closer look at your needs, our needs. Our need bucket holds everything we absolutely must have to survive, the basics. Not sure how much to budget for housing or transportation? Follow these guideposts and stay inside the 50% bucket cap. So it gives an example here. Housing, including utilities, should be 25 to 35% of your budget. Food, like basic groceries, should be 5 to 10%. Car, including insurance and gas, 7 to 10%. Medical, including health insurance, 5 to 10%. Work-related expenses, including child care, 5 to 10%. Minimum debt payments, credit cards and personal loans, 2 to 5%. Now, I'm not sure this book is taking in consideration of inflation because today in our world in 2025 and beyond, things are more expensive. Prices have increased on gasoline, groceries, and things that we need. This book was copyrighted in 2017, and this is 2025 and beyond. And when you look at this video, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years or further down the road, many years from now, it's going to be different because depending on the person's situation. So a tip here is figure out your budget based on take home pay and not your gross pay. So we have something called a net pay. That's the pay you bring home that you see on your salary check. And the gross pay is what you see on your check before they take out taxes and other expenses from your salary check. It says a tip here, if your needs exceeds 50%, steal from your wants bucket. So that's the flexibility it's talking about. So now we're going to calculate your net worth. Our net worth, that's assets and liabilities. Assets is everything we own. For example, savings and investments, house, retirement funds, car. You take all that and add up, and that's your total assets. Liabilities is everything we owe. For example, mortgage, maybe rent, student loans, car loans, credit card debt, and total that up. So you take the total of the assets minus the total liabilities, and that is our net worth. So it has a little paragraph here. When it comes to tracking your personal financial health, the best thermometer is your net worth. This simple calculation lets you measure financial progress so you can see whether you're gaining or losing ground and keep the finances on track. Smart money strategies like paying down debt and saving for retirement send your net worth higher and beef up your financial fitness. Imprudent moves like shopping sprees and ballooning credit card debts can put your net worth on life support. So we'll go to the next page in the book. We're going to talk about 5 steps for creating a budget you can stick to. Now, it says here in the book, developing a budget can do more than track your spending and savings. It can also help you work toward your financial goals. The following steps will show you how to build a budget that works for your life so you don't have to worry about falling short of your plans. Number 1, start with your goals. And again, these goals are going to be different for each person. And depending on that person's salary, their income, expenses, liabilities, assets, and things of that nature, and what they have to spend will define their goals. Now, it says here, write down your financial goals. That's the first thing that we should do. And we have to make sure we include actual dollar amounts and the time frames to make tracking possible. So let's say, for example, you want to it says here you want to have a $1,000 emergency fund by, let's say, December 2025. It has a different date here, but it's past the date that we're doing it. So I made up a date. Let's say you want to have $1,000 in emergency fund by the end of the year. So, and you want to pay off $5,000 of your credit card debt in, let's say, 18 to 24 months. You have to have a specific date. So let's say 18 months. Then divide the dollar amount by the number of months to figure out your monthly goals. So you take the $5,000, divide it by the number of months to figure out how much you will have to pay toward that credit card to pay it off in the 18 months. Number 2, the second step for creating a budget that we can stick to is know your income. Know our income. Before you can establish a budget, you have to know exactly how much money you have coming in every month from your employer and other sources. Make sure to include only the money you actually receive. For example, the exact amount of your paycheck rather than your gross pay. The net pay or the exact amount is what you and I see that number on our salary check. It's on it's there. If you get a paper check now, lots of times most people may have a direct deposit into some type of financial institution account, like a checking account or savings account or of that nature. They may have direct deposit. But anyway, you can see that that's your net amount that you see that you get paid by your employer or other sources. And the third step to creating a budget we can stick to is total your monthly expenses. To me, this is the most challenging one because you see, I mean, expenses can come out of nowhere that you never thought about. I mean, for example, stopping at a gas station to get maybe a bottle of water or something to drink or a smoothie or a pack of cookies or chips or something, a snack. That is an expense that you have to write down. You need to know how much money you're spending every month. It says when you're figuring out your total monthly expenses, be sure to include groceries, rent, or mortgages, all debt payments, including car loans, student loans, and credit cards, cell phone service, cable, and entertainment. Like you like to go to a movie, or you like to see a Netflix, or you like to see a Prime movie, or buy a Prime movie off of Amazon, or you may want to go out to a special event with family and friends. That is something you have to include in your expenses. And remember to include occasional expenses, like I just said, like doctor visits and car insurance. Look through bank and credit card statements. That's highly important. I will recommend every month I say physically print out. I know you can see it on your monitor on your screen, your credit card and bank statement, but print them out that way you physically see and highlight with a highlighter where your money is going. And it says, get a realistic picture of your spending. Now, the fourth step that we can do to create a budget that we can stick to is create a realistic budget. Don't make up budgets like, oh, I'm gonna save $10,000 in 3 months. That's unrealistic for anyone. And unless you got a real big major money source, but just average everyday hardworking people like you and me, that saving $10,000 in 3 months is going to be just so that's not realistic. So to make your first stab at a budget, it says in the book, add your monthly expenses from step 3 to the monthly goals you calculated in step 1. Then subtract that total from your monthly income. If the balance is positive, you create a budget that is compatible with your current lifestyle. If the balance is negative, take another look at your goals, expenses, and income. So if it's a negative number, then you need to look at what you're spending, your expenses, your income, and your goals. Now, the fifth and final step for creating a budget you can stick to is revisit your goals and expenses. Sometimes we make a budget today, and then maybe 6 months or 12 months from now, we may have to revisit that budget and expense. So if the first draft of your budget come out negative, rework the numbers and try again, it says here. Also, think about what areas you may be able to alter in order to create a budget that's manageable. Also, it says, and still fits with your needs. So it says, for example, you can revisit your expenses and decide which are priority items that need to stay in your budget and which you can do without. Okay, then it says you can consider changing the amount of time or money needed to meet your goals, or you can figure out a way to increase your income. Any one of those changes could make your budget come together. And then there's a section about banking basics, which I personally wish I had known decades ago, but now we are learning and knowing it together. So it has like a little a grid here, like a little box, and it's got squares, and I'll show it to you right quick. See here? Whoops, over here. It's kind of hard. Banking basics. Okay, so banks, rates and fees, charge higher fees and loan rates and offer lower saving rates. Access to banks typically have more branches and ATMs and use newer technology. That's a good thing. Now, credit unions. I found out about credit unions, about 20 something years ago. I found out about credit unions. Offer higher savings rates and charge lower fees and loan rates. Also, have fewer branches and ATMs, but often have branch partners so you can get services at different credit union and use other ATMs, and are usually slower to embrace new technology. Now, what do they do? Okay, what do they work for? This is very important. Banks are for profits and try to maximize profits for their stockholders. Credit unions are not for profits and work to benefit their members. People who have accounts there usually offering more and much better customer service. So depends on what your goals and situation are. If you want to go with a bank, or if you want to go with I'm sorry, excuse me, this is my husband calling. Let me just tell him I'll call him back. And so also credit unions will have fewer branches and ATMs, but often have branch partners. So a credit union is more geared toward the members who have accounts there. So let's continue on. What you keep and where you keep your money affects your finances more than you realize. Different types of financial institutions serve up different offerings, from loan rates to banking fees. Once you've chosen the spot to stash your cash, you still need to figure out the best types of accounts to use. Here's what you need to know. Now, this is a breakdown of the 4 types of accounts that most banks and credit unions have. Okay, so let's go. checking accounts, unrestricted access. So perfect for everyday spending. Usually don't earn interest. Most charge monthly maintenance fees. The second one is savings account. Quick but restricted access to the money, 6 withdrawals per month. So good for small, short-term savings and goals and earn interest, no fees. The third account, money market accounts. Quick but restricted access to the money, 6 withdrawals per month with high minimum balance requirements. Good for emergency savings, earn more interest than standard savings accounts, may charge low balance fees. And then the fourth accounts and when to use them, certificate of deposit or CDS, limited access to the money for a locked in time period, good for long term savings. And it says usually earn the highest interest rate with higher rates for longer lock in periods, penalties for early withdrawals. Now, it says in this book, savings accounts, including money markets and CDs, are for money you can't afford to lose. Your money is 100% guaranteed safe with guaranteed interest earnings, unlike investments, which are never guaranteed. Now, here's the pros and cons of joint checking accounts. If you're moving in with a significant other for the first time or just got married, you may be wondering whether you should merge your financial accounts. After all, it may seem easier than dividing up expenses and writing out separate checks for everything. Here's what you should know before you make this important financial decision. Now, the pros. The pros of a joint checking account. Pros mean these are the positive, advantageous reasons to have a joint checking account. Convenience. Having a joint checking account makes it easier to pay for expenses and bills. Both partners are aware of how much money is available and they can tackle bills efficiently instead of constantly shuffling money from one account to another. Another pro is easy to keep track of bills. With a single checking account, it's easy to see which bills have been paid and which haven't. It's also streamlining the process since either party can pay the bills when they're due. Also, another advantageous of having a checking account, joint checking account, is teamwork. Many couples have different incomes, which can sometimes lead to feelings of inequality. But joining finances, both partners are responsible for the same pool of money rather than acting like separate entities. This creates a team atmosphere and allows partners to share funds equally. And reduce fees. Many checking accounts require that you have a minimum balance in order to avoid maintenance fees or overdraft fees. By having one joint account, you can reduce those bank fees since you're both putting money into one account and can reach that minimum balance much more easily. Now, let's go to the cons. The cons mean these are the negative reasons why a person should not have a joint checking account. Potential for fights about money. Oh gosh, a lot of people, especially married couples, and maybe going through something like this because of whatever reason. So, since both of you will share the accounts, you and your partner may feel like you need to discuss everything you buy and justify your spending. If you're using, if you're used to being more independent, this may lead to arguments about money. Highlights different spending styles. It can be very difficult to make a joint account if you and your partner have different spending styles. If you like to save and your partner tends to go on shopping sprees, set some spending boundaries. I would say, and I'm adding this, communicate with each other about those spending boundaries. That way, you'll discuss large purchases before making them. So that's part about communication. No privacy. Joint account means that all of your transactions are completely transparent. While this can be a good thing in many cases, it also makes it harder to purchase things like gifts for the other person or personal items you may want to keep private. And then difficult to separate. If you and your partner part ways later on, it can be difficult to separate your accounts and finances. To make matters worse, each person has equal access to the account, so they have the right to withdraw funds and close the account at any time and without the other person's consent. Now we're going to talk about how your money grows. So this talks about time matters. The longer your money has to compound, the bigger it will grow, which is why it's extra important to start saving for retirement as soon as possible. Oh boy, I'm telling you right now, I wish I had learned this when I was young. When I was younger, when I was younger in high school, I worked a job, and usually teenagers they get the when I was a teenager, we get the money and just spend it. We didn't think about saving. I didn't wasn't taught about saving. I guess my parents are so busy working to try to keep food on the table and the electricity lights on. They just didn't have time to talk to me about saving matters. But if I had known about this, I mean, a lot of you may be in the same boat I am and just now learning the importance of how to grow your money. And it's never too late. If you're not beyond 50 and you are before 50, if you're 50 and younger and you're watching this, you still have an opportunity to start saving now while you at a young age. So it says here, let's say you contribute $2,000 a year to your 401k, earning 6% a year. Now, that's just an example that the book is giving someone who has a job that company has a 401k. That's a retirement fund that company is offering their employees, and your 401k is our 401k is earning 6% a year. So if you start saving at age 25, this is just an example. By the time you're 65, you will have $328,101, it says here. But if you wait until you're 45 to start contributing that $2,000 a year, you end up with $77,986, less than a quarter of what you have if you start at 25. Now it goes on to say frequency matters. Interest typically compounds annually, quarterly, or monthly. The more often the compounding takes place, the faster your money will grow. Now we're going to talk about what is compounding. Compounding is one very important way that your money grows, and it's the main reason that starting to save as soon as possible. And I want to add, it's not too late. It says it in your 20s and 30s, but if you're in your 40s and 50s, even 60s, it's still not too late to save for certain goals in your life in those different age ranges. It says is crucial for building wealth. Compounding lets you earn money on your investment earnings, interest, dividends, and capital gains stop price growth. For example, you have an initial investment in a money market account and it earns interest. That interest get added to your original investments. Now you'll be earning interest on your interest. And over a long period of time, you'll see your investment grow to truly astounding heights. Now it has an example here, like if you start saving at 25, by the age of 45, you have $77,986. But by the age of 65, as we said earlier, that person will have $328,101. But if you start saving at 35, and that's with that example of the 401k earning 6%, by the age of 45, it's $27,943. By the age of 65, $167,606. Now, if you start at 65 saving, by the age of 65, you start saving at 45, I'm sorry, if you start saving at 45 and by the age of 65, that person would have earned by the 401k 6% earning 401k earning 6% a year, that'd be $77,986. Now, this is something new that I didn't know about. Just I'm about to read to you now. It's called the Rule of 72. I never heard of it until I started reading this book. The rule of 72 lets you figure out how soon your investment will double using a specific interest rate or rate of return for non-interest earnings on investments like growth and dividends. Okay, now simply divide the interest rate into 72. The answer tells you how many years it would take your money to double. So it gives an example here. So if your money is earning 5% a year, the calculation would be 72 divided by 5, which equals 14.4. Your money would double in a little over 14 years based on compounding alone. Now we're going to go to 5 ways to boost your income this month, it says. So this is going to be very, very interesting. So I'll show you a photo. This is from the book. Oops, excuse me. So how your money grows is that, and then we're going to 5 ways to boost your income this month. And you can get this book off of Amazon or Barnes and Noble. And I got that link in the description box. Number 1, it says get a second job. I know right now a lot of people are facing job layoffs, and or either their company are decreasing hours, or it's a lot of changes going on at this point in time. The economy, and getting a second job may or may not be easy, but it says finding a second job can be an effective way to increase your household's income. Then number 2 gives examples how a person can get a second job. You can sign up on websites like Upwork and Freelancer to build a profile and find detailed opportunities that fit your skills. So you can sign up on one of those particular types of websites. Then you can create a profile, and then you can be detailed about what opportunities you want to take advantage of, those that fit your abilities and talents. The third is drive around town. I thought that was interesting. Check out popular services like Uber and Lyft to find out how you can boost your income on a regular basis. And I say be very, very careful if you want to drive for Uber and Lyft. Make sure that is something that you want to be involved in. Make sure it has high security of when you're picking up individuals and driving them across the way and across the town and the city. Just be very careful when you do go toward Uber and Lyft for a second job. Number 4 is a way to boost our income is join a direct sales company. Now, it does give a little warning in this. While a direct sales company can bring and be a great way to bring in a second income and gain entrepreneurial skills, keep in mind that joining these companies often requires an upfront fees and the purchase of inventory. So just keep in mind if you do go into a direct sales company, that you have the budget, the financial means to buy their product and to sell it to create your boost your income. And the 5th way to boost your income is to rent out your home. If you own a spacious home, you may want to consider renting out extra bedrooms or a finished basement on websites like Airbnb, Zillow, or Craigslist. If you reduce your income as much as you can and still have trouble finding the money to reach your financial goals, consider temporarily or permanently adding to your income. The following options that we just read can help you make enough money to pay off debts or significantly increase your savings. However, keep in mind that you may need to make some short-term sacrifices, such as spending less time hanging out with friends and family in order to make the most of these opportunities. So in that little description, that means you take on a second job in order to pay down some debt or to achieve a financial goal, You have less time to spend with family and friends because you're working a second job. You're trying to reach your goal of paying down your debt, paying off a credit card, trying to save to maybe buy a car or to maybe to buy a home in the future. So that's one of those sacrifices it's mentioned, and you'll have less time with family and friends. But the rewards are awesome when you do. You'll feel great when you got that credit card paid off. You feel great. Oh, I got money now. I can put toward buying a car or toward buying a home or even investing, creating an emergency savings fund, things of that nature is rewarding, even though you have to sacrifice a time or two to spend less time with your family and friends in order to achieve those goals. Now we're going to talk about emergency funds, emergency savings can save the day. You know, cars break down, pipes burst, jobs disappear, it says here in the book. Emergency expenses crop up randomly. You can't predict them, but you can plan for them with an emergency fund. To cover virtually any financial jam, stash enough money to cover 3 to 6 months worth of living expenses in your emergency account. It can take a while to save that much, so start right away and you'll be ready for that inevitable rainy day. Now, the best emergency fund will have these key features: separate from your everyday accounts. Make sure it's an account that is not with your joint checking account or your individual checking account. It has to be a separate from your everyday accounts. Okay. No or very low transaction fee, easy access, no penalties for withdrawals, and interest bearing on the balance. Now, without an emergency fund, it says here, you'll be scrambling when an unexpected expense crisis crops up. Now, we all have experiences. Oh gosh, a flat tire or a car breakdown or some kind of family emergency or you know life stuff happens, as I say. Check out what happens to Americans who don't have emergency savings to fall back on. This is what happens: 13% have to borrow from their retirement accounts. 10% take hardship withdrawals from their retirement savings. 16% are late with their mortgage payments. 19% overdraw their checking accounts. 21% struggle with overdue medical bills. 15% can't afford to get a prescription filled. Now, we just finished this year taxes. April 15th is the tax day where most everybody have had their taxes done unless they have applied for an extension. So this portion of the book is talking about 6 uses for your tax refund to move your finances forward, it says here in the book. While you may be tempted to spend your tax refund on an extravagant vacation or the latest thing in tech, you can also use it to improve your finances. Improve your finances with that tax refund. It says, depending on your current financial situation and goals, you may want to consider these alternatives to help you boost your finances. Now, there's 6 here. We're going to all read them out. 1, you can put that tax refund toward retirement. You should consider using your tax refund to beef up your retirement accounts, especially if you haven't been saving as much as you'd like. Number 2, pay off credit card debt. If you had a lot of credit card debt, which usually comes with high interest charges, consider using your tax refund to pay down that debt. Putting your tax refund toward your credit card balance will help you dig out of debt and gain financial freedom much quicker. Number 3, add to your emergency funds. You can use that tax refund to put in your emergency funds. By putting your tax refund into your emergency fund, you can have peace of mind knowing that you have the money needed to cover things that may come up throughout the year, such as a flat tire or medical procedure. Or Number 4, save for future big ticket purchases. It can be hard to save for a future big ticket purchase, such as a car or a new home. So, putting away your tax refund for this expense can help you get to your goal faster. Number 5, it says here buy stocks. If you've been thinking about putting some money into stock market, now may be the time to consider investing. You can use your tax refund to open a brokerage account and start buying corporate shares or exchange traded funds or ETFs, which are similar to mutual funds when it comes to diversification, but are much easier to trade. Number 6, invest in yourself. One way to boost your financial finances is to increase your value in working world. Increase your skills and talents and abilities. It says consider using your tax refund to further your education, to take courses that strengthen your job skills and prepare you for the position you wish you had. Continuing the book, Personal Guide, it says Personal Finance, a guide to personal finance, an infographic. So let's go to when to reevaluate your budget. As I said earlier, and I read from the book earlier, that sometimes, depending on our situation that happens, we may have to reevaluate. Take another look, a second look at our budget. And it says when to reevaluate your budget, figure out the best way to use that extra cash, whether that's paying down debt or spending it or saving it. Like when you get a raise, let's say, wow, you got a raise in salary, a raise in pay. Figure out a way to use that extra cash to pay down debt, not to go on the spending spree that because you got extra money because of extra, increase in salary. If you want to buy a house, adjust your budget to include your mortgage payment and a bigger contribution to an emergency fund to cover unexpected household expenses. That's major because if you buy a home, it's not like renting. I rented for many, many years. And when you rent, of course, the landlord take care of everything. If something breaks down, you just call the maintenance people and they come out and fix what's going on in your rental property. But when you own a home, totally different. If something breaks down, you and I, who are owning a home, will have to build in emergency funds for those expenses to take care and repair something in our home. Also, it says get married or move in together. Combining two households into one can bring more breathing room to your budget. That's one way when you have to reevaluate your budget. Also, if you have a baby, if you have a little one on the way, adding a family member calls for long-term changes in your budget. Keep unnecessary expenses to a minimum and start saving for college. Recover from a financial emergency. It says here, retool your budget to replenish your emergency funds so you be prepared for whatever comes next. Move to a new city. Sometimes people have to relocate due to their job, the employer maybe moving to a different city, or the individual saw better opportunities in another city. But it says revamp your budget to account for the new cost of living. Also, to pay off debt. Without that student loan or credit card payment draining your budget, you can add back some of the expenses you cut or budget that extra money into long-term savings. And unfortunately, some people lose a job, whether, like we said earlier, the company is just downsizing and laying off, or the company is moving to a different state or different country, or that company is just no longer is going to be around. The economy is very challenging right now. So if someone loses a job, this temporary situation calls for immediate budget makeover. Once a person loses a job, they have to splash spending. I call it, it says slash, but I call it splash, slash spending and increase income in any way you can. Your budget needs to adapt and evolve, it says in the book, to fit your life under changing circumstances. As your income, expenses, goals, and lifestyle change over time, rework your budget to fit your new financial reality. Now, these are 10 ways to protect your financial info. And this is the last part of chapter 1 that we're talking about budget and savings. So, 10 ways to protect your financial info. With identity theft, data breaches, ransomware, and spyware becoming more disturbingly commonplace, it's more important than ever to safeguard your financial information, especially if you conduct most of your financial business online. And most people do. Most people have bank accounts online, credit card online. I mean, we have all these different apps now that we can do financial apps through our electronic device, smartphone, iPhone, Android, any other kind of electronic device. Everything mostly is online or through an electronic device. So we're going to go through all 10 ways to protect our finances. So take these 10 steps to protect your accounts, information, and financial well-being. Now, remind you, this book was published in 2017. There may be some more updated ways to protect your financial ways. So these are 10 ways currently. And some of these are still good for our day and time. Secure your hardware is number one. Keep the security protocols up to date. Make sure your security software is never turned off. Log out of your accounts when finished, and password protect your devices. Number two, beware of public settings. Never use unsecured Wi Fi connections for anything that requires a password. And keep your RFID enabled cards, the kind you wave to pay with, in the RFID blocking wallet. The RFID stands for radio frequency identification. Number three, change your passwords. Reset your financial login passwords every 90 days. That's every 3 months. And don't use the same password for more than one account. Number four, secure your apps. Turn on the security settings for all apps related to your finances and choose the highest security setting available. Number five, encrypt your data. Use a secure browser and always look for the data encryption lock icon in the status bar before entering a password. So when you're on a website, on the screen of your computer or your Android, iPhone, electronic smartphone device, look to the status bar, which is usually at the top. Look to the left top, and there should be a lock icon there that you know that it's safe for you to use that website. Number six, limit social sharing. Don't give criminals the answers to financial challenge questions like your pet's name, your mother's maiden name, or your favorite band. Number seven, protect your papers. Keep your financial documents in a secure location and shred everything you no longer need before you get rid of it. So I highly recommend getting a shredder. You can get one probably at Walmart or Amazon or some other big box shopping place, Target. You know, you probably can get one a very reasonable price one and shred something that you don't use anymore. Don't just toss it out in trash. Number eight, check your credit. Look carefully for any activity that isn't yours. And every year you can get a free credit check. And I'll put that information in the description box. And just ask for a free credit report. And also, if you could go also to the three big, I call them the three big credit bureaus that monitor people's credit. You can also ask them for a way to look at your credit score and maybe how to increase your credit score. Number nine, check, says secure your credit. If you think you're vulnerable to identity theft, place a fraud alert or security freeze on your credit reports. And you can do that through one of those three big credit reporting, which I will um, I'll put it in the description box. So read your statements is number 10. Review your credit card statements and other accounts. every month. And I said that earlier, every month, print out physically. If you don't have a printer, I highly advise you getting a printer and a shredder. And when you get that printer, print it out every month and report any unfamiliar charges or claims. So that's the end of chapter one of budget and saving from the book that we're going to be reading from the next few weeks. This is a 5 week. This is the first week. We're talking about saving and budget tonight. And then in chapter two, which we'll be going over next week, is title spending. That's for next week. So I hope and pray that this will be very educational. It was for me. I learned some new things about saving and budgeting, and saving from this book that I just showed you. And I hope and pray that it would be, something that you can take forward. If you're someone who's new and learning about saving and budgeting and saving, please use this information. I would highly recommend buying the book, and it's not very expensive, and so you can budget to buy the book. I hope and pray that it would be beneficial. It's important that we get financially sound for what is coming. I know right now things look economically bad, and we want to be ready financially, having that emergency savings, paying down our debt, paying off credit cards, and other things to make us to be, have us financial well-being, financial wellness. So we want to have the get out of debt financial wellness, and we want to do this. Uh, it's a lifelong skill. I want to end by saying getting out of debt is not a overnight success. It takes time to get out of debt. It takes time to make a budget and stick to that budget in order to meet those financial goals that we spoke about from that chapter, budgeting and saving. So we want to make sure that everyone realizes that this is something we have to do together. We're learning, and we need to stick to that decision that we made to get out of debt and have financial wellness. Thank you for your time, and may you have a wonderful, wonderful day and evening. Take care.